If another founder asked about using Composio, what would you tell them?
Do it. Then if we can just do it through an external provider that's specializing in that, then we don't need to worry about a lot of random things breaking. So that's why Composio helps, saves a lot of time. We were pivoting, we were trying to come up with ideas, and then obviously, as you've heard about OpenClaw, it just came out and we're like, this seems interesting, this feels like it's the future, and we came up with Clam.
Why is security such a big deal for AI agents? What breaks without it?
Without security is trust. People cannot trust their AI agents, so that's what we're trying to solve.
Hi, Vaibhav. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm really glad you're able to visit.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to interview you about Clam and how you have integrated Composio in it. So let's start off, let's set the scene. Can you please introduce yourself and what are you doing?
Hey, I'm Vaibhav, and we're working on Clam. We're in the new YC Winter 26 batch, and Clam basically helps you deploy OpenClaw agents and other agents like that, so broad access agents in the cloud securely. The main problem we're trying to solve for is twofold. One is security, the other one is ease of access. So for most non-technical people, it's very hard for them to interact with broad access AI agents like OpenClaw. So what we do is we make the whole process seamless. We make it one-click deploy. They can have multiple integrations actually through Composio. And the other part is they want to make sure that their data is not leaving the container, or if it leaves, it only leaves when it's necessary. So we're trying to make a whole secure framework around that.
Nice. And before we dive a little bit deeper into that, can you tell me a little bit about your backstory? Is this something you've been working on for a while? Did you pivot?
Yeah, so actually we weren't working on this for a while. We just pivoted into this 2.5 weeks ago. We actually did our YC launch last Sunday, so it's not been that long. But before that, we were actually doing software for hardware. So we were trying to help people select components for their printed circuit boards. So if you're a small startup, or if you're a bigger enterprise and you're trying to design a printed circuit board, which are every chips that go into your phone or any electronic device, we basically help you find the right components super fast. So what changed there was we went to a lot of different conferences, talked to people, and then we realized that the people who really want the solution are really big enterprises, because there were 3 different verticals you could technically go after. One is the small startups, one is your bigger startup that have an in-house team, and then the other one is enterprise. With the smaller startup, they were just sending it off to people in Shenzhen, and then they didn't really want to bother with it at all. For the medium scale companies, they were using contractors in the US who kind of had this sort of figured out maybe, or they were more hesitant about trying AI right now. And the other one, because of security. And then the other one was the bigger enterprises. But then with those, the sales cycle was super long, and we weren't really interested in doing that, because that kind of just was different from what we originally set out to do, which was trying to help everyday people just make really cool hardware products easily. So we were pivoting, we were trying to come up with ideas, and then obviously, as you've heard about OpenClaw, it just came out and we're like, this seems interesting, this feels like it's the future. So what can we build in that? So we spent a few days just thinking about what we want to build, and we came up with Clam.
Oh, so you wanted to kind of ride the wave, you wanted to, and what made you interested in the hardware initially?
Yeah, so I wouldn't also say we were trying to necessarily ride the wave, although I think it does help us a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think for us, it's more around the whole thing about okay, before this, AI agents just weren't so accessible to everyday people. Now it just kind of became so that they can now access it through their WhatsApp or anything. So we're more focusing on that. But for the hardware side of things, I think my co-founder, Anshul, he used to do a lot of tinkering in college. We were roommates. I would walk into his room. He would have a lot of resistors and stuff lying on the floor. I would actually get poked on the sole of my feet. It was just so common. And then he always found this issue that when he was trying to design a circuit, it just took a lot of effort on his part to try to find the right components, check the stock, make sure they're compatible. And so we thought with all these AI agents becoming more and more powerful, knowledgeable, how can we make this process easier for other people? So it was a problem that he lived every day to some extent, and then I lived that problem through just stepping on his resistors. But it was just more of a personal thing that we thought other people felt as well. And we like talked to a lot of folks and realized that it is a problem. So we just wanted to like go in there and solve it. I just don't think like there was the founder market fit there.
Got it. Okay, nice. So you experiment and you figure it. Okay. And then, so why is security such a big deal for AI agents? What breaks without it?
Yeah, so I think it's becoming more and more obvious that like security is just super important for AI agents, because when you're talking to ChatGPT or you're using Claude, all of these different AI agents, when you're talking to them about your personal information, it's technically not really leaving the container or the container of ChatGPT or OpenAI, because you're just talking with them and then they give you a response. They don't really go on behalf of you and actually act on any of that information. But with AI agents, what changes is that they're actually given the permissions to act on your behalf. So let's say you give it access to your LinkedIn or your Twitter, maybe your customer information. Now the same AI agent actually has access to all of these 5 different things. So now if it finds like random patterns, and then you've also told it to like send emails out to customers, maybe it sends out some emails that you didn't really want to send out. So let's say you're talking to customer A and you're talking to customer B. Somehow like the AI agent hallucinates, like it thinks that customer A, whatever they said is a pain point for customer B, or maybe like leaks some private information. But it's like just so hard to control that it's becoming more and more of like a serious problem, which is like hindering adoption at like big enterprises or even for consumers, because when they want an AI agent to go and like act on their behalf, they wanted to do like something deterministic and they think like it'll just do it. But because AI agents are just random, they can actually go ahead and do things that would break a lot of things. So I think what breaks without security is trust. Like that's the biggest thing. I think people cannot trust their AI agents. So that's what we're trying to solve.
Powerful. Walk me through a specific example. What happens when the AI agent, oh, you already gave an example. That's good. Okay. Yeah. Amazing. What was wrong with existing approaches to AI agent security?
I think at least for like OpenClaw and like these broad access AI agents, people just thought like having them in like a VM running in the cloud or like just having them in their own container is good enough, because then like no one else can access the AI agent. But the thing is like at that point you want to give information to the AI agents. Let's say you want to give it access to emails or you don't want to give it access to the emails. It's always binary. So I think what we're trying to change about that is like it can be very semantic. So instead of giving all access to email, you can like kind of filter through like the relevant emails that are required for that task. So I think the security was always like at the network level or not even at the network level, but like just your traditional firewalling where like, okay, you're not allowed to do that or you're allowed to do this. But now we're trying to like kind of make it more task-based, where like if you have to do, let's say if you have to go and read my customer emails and like figure out different patterns there, then you don't necessarily need to go into like this email that I got from my dad, like that includes like some pictures from my childhood or maybe includes like his tax information that I need to like do something with. So we're trying to like kind of make that distinction that actually you can give AI access to more things while being sure that it's not accessing things that it's not supposed to. So it's like somewhat of a balance.
Okay, you kind of talked about the semantic firewall.
Yeah, so I mean, just to like
break it down for non-technical people. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the way we're doing semantic firewall is at like 3 different layers. So we're trying to understand, is there like a prompt injection? Is there more like PII information that you don't really want to share with the world that is coming either in or out? So the semantic firewall sits essentially outside your AI agent.
Okay.
So anything that the AI agent wants to talk to the outside world about goes through the semantic firewall. And the semantic firewall and everything that goes out and comes in screens that to make sure that like any information that your AI agent directly sees or acts upon is actually relevant to the task and actually doesn't have any of like the prompt injections or PIIs that could break things. So even if a prompt injection gets through, let's say, then for the AI agent to actually act on that, it needs to then go out again to talk to like your AI provider so that then it can take an action. So because we're looking at every single request and response, we're able to like do this at like multi-layered systems. So we're able to like prevent anything from happening there.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Why is that important? So because it's just at the network level, like why is that important versus like is there other approaches? Why is that
I think the other approaches that most I think like people would do on their own would be just trying to make the prompt stronger and stronger, to try to make the system prompt as good as possible, so that in the system prompt they just say that, hey, if someone tries to say this, like don't do it, don't get prompt injected or whatever, like all those kind of things. What we do by being at the network level is that we're removing the dependency from the bot to like an external system that can actually validate that, instead of like the bot trying to just think on its own and make decisions. Now you have this other layer that's just screening every single thing that the bot is able to access.
Okay. Walk me through what you're scanning for. Yeah, what like PII leaks, like prompt injections, like malicious code.
Yeah, so I think we're like scanning for all of those. So the biggest thing is we have different layers for each of those. So we have a model that's specifically trained for prompt injections. So then that's like always checking for prompt injections. And then we have the simple matches for the PIIs. And we also have malicious code. So the malicious code is more of like we have specialized models that are specifically looking for that. So we have different layers that are all like specializing in one of these aspects, trying to understand like, oh, was there a PII leak? Was there this? Was there that? Like, and if it goes through all of those layers, only then like the bot is able to access that information. And then what we're trying to like optimize on is like bringing down that latency, so that for an end user, they don't really feel like there's like all of this happening in the backend. They just feel like they're sending a message to their bot and it's replying with the relevant information as quickly as possible.
The API key injection piece, why does the AI never see credentials?
Yes.
Matter, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is one of those interesting things, as I said, like with the broad access AI agents, the biggest problem is that it has access to my LinkedIn, it has access to my email, but it also has access to, let's say, my post hub or my Composio key or all of those things. So if it has access to external things where it can publish information, then it having direct access to my key can lead to a case where, let's say, for some reason, some prompt injection or anything gets through. So like if we're thinking about security at like, security is only as good as your like weakest link or like that weakest security point. So what we're trying to do with that is like, just keep, so since we already are like intercepting everything at the network layer, why can't we just add your specific key at the network layer as well? So if the bot is trying to talk to the outside world, we already know that it's in like the specific VM, it has the specific IP, then we can validate that the request that is going outside is a valid request. We've already screened it for all of those things using the semantic firewall. And now we can like, at the network layer, we can just swap out the keys to actually, before it has like a fake Clam key is what we call it, which like identifies it as like being an authentic Clam bot. And then at the network layer, we just swap it out for like, let's say you're talking to Anthropic, so it swaps out for your Anthropic key. Or if you're talking to OpenAI, it swaps out for that. Or Composio, it swaps out for your Composio key. So then we can have like that granular control just using one key there. So the bot only sees the Clam key, which is really irrelevant outside of the use of Clam. So even if you publish it on the outside world, like you can't really access anything because you need to hit it from the specific internal IP to get access to your personal information.
Give me a real example of something Clam caught that would have been a security incident.
Yeah, so I've recently given it access to my Gmail, and then I was like, okay, just go through everything and like make sure that all of the meetings that I have coming up, since like the YC launch, we've just been like scheduling meetings, so like all the meetings that are coming up, like just look at every single person, go on LinkedIn, and like just make sure that like those people are someone who would actually buy the product. So just like kind of doing that initial screening. So I was trying to do that, but then again, as I said, like my dad was sending me some tax information because I was applying for my visa, and then I had to like actually show some information from my parents. So then I asked him for all his bank account statements, all the tax information, but that got like intercepted at the semantic firewall there. So it never reached the bot. It was actually stopped there and like, got blocked. So many emails were coming in and it just got blocked, and we're like, that's great.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, now let's talk about Composio. So how does Composio fit into Clam's architecture?
I think it's actually fairly simple for us. So what we do is we tell the bot that, hey, you have access to all of these different toolkits through Composio. This is the endpoint you need to hit. And if you're ever confused about what toolkit to use, you can just hit those endpoints again and try to get more information about what every toolkit is supposed to do. So then the bot only, again, uses the Clam key and then hits the network firewall or the network proxy. And then it's like swapped for the Composio internal key, and then like every agent has their own identity. So I think with Composio, you guys call it the user ID. So we just like give every single bot its own user ID. It's able to swap it out for that, and then it's able to get the user information. So now how the user sets it up on the front end is actually very simple, because all they need to do is like, now they want to connect their Gmail, they just need to go and click on connect, and it just takes them to the whole OAuth flow through Composio. So now on our end, we don't need to worry about anything. All we get back from Composio is that, okay, Gmail is connected. That's great. We'll tell the bot that, okay, now you have access to Gmail for this customer. Now you have access to PostHop for this customer. Now you have access to XYZ, like all these things for this customer. And the bot is just able to go to Composio, hit the correct endpoints, get the relevant information, help the customer out.
Okay, you kind of mentioned this. What integrations are you using through Composio?
So we actually ended up enabling all of those. So we were like, okay, like you guys, I think have like 900 plus or 800 plus, whatever like you had on your website.
Now we have 1,000 plus.
Now you have 1,000, so I guess we have 1,000 then. Yeah. I think there's like an API that you can hit on Composio that just says like get everything or something. Like I'm forgetting, like maybe I'm vibe coding a little too hard. But for the Composio integration, I think there's this available tools endpoint that we hit, and then it just like gets back all of the single toolkits that are available. And we just display that on our front end, and the user can just click on it and then integrate with that. So anything that you guys add, we have access to directly, which is great.
That's so cool. Why did you choose Composio instead of building integrations yourself?
So I think at some point we were building some integrations ourselves. So like Linear, GitHub, like a lot of those, like we were adding that. But at that point, we didn't really know about Composio. So as soon as we knew about Composio, we were like, this is something we want to do. It's definitely on our roadmap. We'll like figure it out. We'll use it at some point. What was the aha moment for us was we were trying to actually do Gmail integration and Google Calendar integration. And those kind of integrations actually take a very long time, because you need to get approved by Google. You need to do a lot of different like approval processes. And the thing is, because we don't need direct access to any of that information, we can get it through a third-party provider. It works really well for us that like now we can use Composio to like do the whole OAuth and just give us the relevant information. So then that really works well for us. And like we were out to launch, and then we were looking at how can we make Gmail work. And then we already knew about Composio. So then we were like, okay, let's just integrate this. It took a few hours for us to do, but like as soon as we were done, now we have access to all these 1,000 integrations, I guess, which is great. Yeah.
How did you hear about Composio?
I think my brother knows one of the PMs. So then like through that, like we were just like grabbing coffee, and I was like, okay, like this company sounds cool. Like let me try it out. Yeah.
How does the security layer Clam work with that integration layer, Composio?
Security layer. So actually what we ended up doing was we created another layer of security for Composio, just because like all of the integrations that they're going through Composio, we wanted to make sure that the user can actually add more security there. So what we do is we let user define like their own rules for what information can get through Composio. So we'll just like send out an information or like a request to Composio for give us all the emails in the last, let's say, a day or 10 hours or whatever. And Composio will give us those emails back, but then the user might have defined like the scope of those emails. So then before the bot actually sees it, so this is like a third layer that we added. So there's the network proxy, semantic firewall, and then we added this like integrations firewall of sorts, which is like kind of built into the semantic firewall, but it's like more defined by the user. So the user can say like, okay, I don't want any information of this sort, or I only want information that's like relevant to this. So then we're like kind of screening that at that integration layer and making sure that like whatever information we're getting through Composio is also like screened for all of that. So it like kind of just all fits in together.
Okay, walk me through the flow. So an agent wants to send an email via Composio. What happens with Clam in the middle?
Yeah, so typically like the way you would do it is like you can either do it through our web UI or directly through your WhatsApp after you've connected it. So if you say, oh, hey, like go send Julia this email, and what it'll do is like, it'll realize that, okay, like I want to send an email. It'll see in its skills.md that I have a toolkit available through Composio that exposes the Gmail API. So then it'll hit, and then it says like, oh, hit this endpoint to get all the different endpoints from Composio that you can use to get information. It's gonna go hit that, which will go through first the semantic firewall, then the network firewall, then go to Composio, come back through the network firewall, semantic firewall, and then like the integrations firewall. to see like what the information that came in is actually like relevant for the bot. And then I think, the bot will see all of the endpoints, so then it'll realize, oh, I need to get the email, so I need to hit this. And then it'll just like go through the whole flow again, like it'll maybe get like, let's say 100 emails, but then the bot only sees a subset of those because some would be caught by the semantic firewall, some would be caught by the integrations firewall that the user-defined rules would catch. And then the bot will see the relevant information and then relay it back to your WhatsApp or whatever platform you're using.
That's really cool. And this is why it's called Clam. Like, where did you get the name? Because it's like a clam.
So, I mean, the genius behind Clam is my co-founder. I think he's just always like doing all, like the website was designed by him, like the whole UI. Like, I think like he's just someone more of like trying to think about like the product side, the theme and everything. So we were thinking about OpenClaw and we're like, oh, it's like a little crab running around. How do we like tie that into the theme? And then we're like, we're doing security. So what if like, we're like trying to capture information and like protect it of sorts, and like, so then Clam just made sense as a name, and now we're doing Clam.
So good. If you were to build all of those integrations yourself, like how would have that looked like? How much time, how many resources would it have taken a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know, like at least for like some of the OAuth integrations that we would have to do, I think that would take like at least a couple of months, because you need to like find the right security companies to do like complete tests on your platform. Even though like we have all these things in place, like we just need to go get audited and like get access through those platforms. And then let's say like someone wants post-hoc, then we can add that. If someone wants like Exa, we can add that. If someone wants this or that, like we can add those, but then it's like on a very ad hoc basis. Right now, like the easier part for us is like, we're like, oh, you don't need to ask us, like just go on there. Because like, I'm pretty sure like for Composio, so many people have already requested those things that at least when you're in the tech bubble, most people are using similar things anyway. So you already have those things accessible through Composio. So then now we don't need to like do things that are not a part of our core offering. Our core offering is security, one-click deploy. Integrations, obviously everyone needs that and you need to make it as easy as possible, but then if we can just do it through an external provider that's specializing in that, then we don't need to worry about like a lot of like random things breaking, which is great. So that's why Composio helps, saves a lot of time.
Can you tell me again how long it took to integrate everything with Composio?
Yeah, I think it was like just one night. So I don't know, this was like right before we were launching, we were just like figuring out like, oh, what all features can we add? And then I was already talking to Palash, I think the PM, and then we were already discussing like how easy it is. And at some point we just decided like, okay, we're launching in like 10, 12 hours. We have a few hours handy right now. Like, why don't we just add like everything right now? So then we thought, okay, how long would that take? And then through Composio, it was just super simple, because once you like figure out, like by reading the docs, like what you need to do, which is you can just tell Claude Code to do it. It can just read the docs and like pull in the right information. You can just integrate that directly. And then once you integrate for one tool, then you technically can just do the same thing for anyone else, like all of the other tools, which makes like the whole process easier. Because again, to go back to like how long would it have taken us, like maybe the same amount of time for one tool, but would have taken us like way longer, because then you'd have to copy paste the same logic to some extent for like thousands of different integrations. And then like it would also be ad hoc, that like this customer then needs to ask you for something instead of like them just having it out of the box. So I think, yeah, it's just like super simple, the whole integration process for us, yeah.
And so would you say then, okay, Composio kind of enabled you to focus on that like security, that focusing on that one-step deploy?
Yeah, I think so, because if we zoom out and think about security as a whole, then the main thing we're doing at the security layer is the key swap that we're doing, because we're using the Clam key. That's the only thing that the bot sees. And then it needs to go to the network proxy where it's just like gets swapped for the relevant key. So we have like these 5-6 different keys, like Anthropic, OpenAI, obviously all of those. But outside of that, now we don't need to manage like a bajillion keys. We can just use that one Composio key directly to manage everything else, which is like reduces like the risk of things, because now it's only Composio. We just need to manage like maybe 5 to 6 keys instead of just managing so many different integrations.
What's like a typical customer use case, and who's using Clam? What's the majority?
Yeah, I think like there's just a bunch of use cases out there. Some of the common ones we've heard are for engineering teams, people just want to connect a lot of different APIs or like different services like Post Hoc, Sentry, GitHub, Linear, just connect them all into one and then just see like, you can ask like the bot different questions about customers. So if you also have the bot integrated with Slack, then you can just say like, okay, this customer is complaining about XYZ. Can you go check all of the logs on Sentry? Look like if there is any like issues on GitHub, like when was this PR merged? How did that relate to this issue? Like they just reported this at this time. So it's kind of helping you with that root cause analysis. I think a lot of people are using it for that. Then there are like different use cases on the sales side of things and then the customer success where people are able to use it for like, again, similar use cases, but like add in like Firefly's data or Pylon data and all of those different integrations so that now they can kind of find patterns that they previously weren't able to just through their Slack. So like if a question comes to your mind that, okay, this person is saying this, or let's say go through all my Firefly's call recordings and then find different themes that people are talking about, or how does that relate to like all of the issues that we've been hearing in Pylon? Like, are there any similarities in this? And like, can you give me a summary of that at every like 9 a.m. every morning? If a customer's sentiment is actually bad, like depending on like the severity of that, like if they're like super mad at you, maybe like just ping me right now. If they're like just asking for a simple trivial question, maybe you can directly reply to the customer. So then people are using it for like all sorts of different things, like depends on like what role they have in the company. So the exec would definitely use it like different from what an engineer would do, but yeah, there's like all of those use cases.
If another founder asked about using Composio, what would you tell them?
Do it. I think it's just such a no-brainer because I don't think like for most companies, they're always adding integrations as a part of like, okay, we also have this, so use us. We also have this, so use us. You're always trying to differentiate on the basis of like, oh, we can integrate with your X, we can integrate with your Y. Why not just tell them that, okay, like whatever you have, we'll just integrate with it? Because you can do that through Composio. And I think that's the biggest thing I would tell anyone. Like if you're worried about integrations or managing that, why not just use this?
What are you building next with Composio? What's next steps with Clam?
Yeah, so on the Composio side of things, like I don't think like we're adding anything new with Composio. It's already like really good for us. But as you said, like I thought there were 800 integrations, then you said it's 1,000 plus now. So I don't even know how many things like keep coming out of Composio. And then like we're just able to directly pass that on, like pass that benefit on to our customers. So I think that's like great. So we're not really building anything with on top of Composio anymore, but I think we're just like taking everything you're offering directly. So it's great for us, yeah.
Cool. And then where do you see Clam going? What's next for you?
Yeah, honestly, like what excites me about Clam is we're just excited about what people build with it. I think through Composio, we're able to like expose so many different integrations. Every day that like so many people are signing up, so many people are using it. We actually find use cases from people that we didn't even think about. And through that, we're able to like just understand the power of Clam and like the power of having secure agents, because a lot of people previously weren't doing a lot of things because they were just worried about AI having access to their information or access to the information that they didn't want to have access to. And now with Clam, we're basically trying to enable that for people. I think the next biggest step for us is doing more on-prem stuff and trying to like just have local models in the cloud so that people don't even need to worry about like their information going to a third-party AI provider. So if they're using us, then we're the people who are hosting like different models for them so that everything is self-contained within that same cloud network, never leaves that, or only leaves the cloud when it needs to hit like some endpoint and like get some information. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. I learned so much. Like now I know so much about Clam and you like broke it down so simply. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who also wants to start building AI agents or just building something in this AI agent world, you know?
Yeah, so I was actually talking to someone yesterday about this, and then they were talking about like how they're like kind of scared about competition. And I think that's the biggest thing with AI agents, that like anything you can build, so many other people are building. So you really need to find like that one thing that you could be passionate about and like see yourself doing for like the next few years. If you're not able to like see yourself working on something for the next few years, then I wouldn't really do it. I think that's like the biggest advice that I would give. I mean, granted that like we pivoted a while back, but then it's like if the market is telling you something, obviously you need to listen to the market, pivot. But if you don't even see yourself doing it long term and you're like just getting scared about competition, or you're like, I don't want to work on this because, or I just want to do this to make money, or I just want to do this to like do XYZ. So many other people are doing it for like much better reasons, doing the same thing. So I would say like just do something that like makes you happy.